you squeeze. And I'm not squeezing super hard, but it's not comfortable. So you want to make sure that you are closer to the ankle, away from the base of that fifth metatarsal. All right, so you're going to wrap medial to laterally. Again, there's that reminder you're never going to pull up on the arch. A good idea is tell your athlete, splay your arch as much as possible. All right, just sort of creeping out those toes. And then you got a small foot, that's going to be a challenge. I can tell you, smaller feet are harder than larger feet. You've got to angle your tape a lot more carefully as you go around there. All right. Okay, so now my anchors are done. 3 up here on the calf, 2 on the foot. Now the reason that this technique is called a basket weave is you can see basket weave, stirrups and horseshoes. You weave together 3 stirrups and 3 horseshoes. You anchor the stirrups proximally and you pass under the heel of the fat pad. Now here's where we need to know if there was an inversion sprain, what we actually do is with that stirrup we're going to pull up on the lateral side. We're actually going to pull them into an eversion position. If it was an eversion sprain they had, we actually pull up the same on both sides equally. Because what we don't want to do is pull them into an inversion position because that is 85% of our sprain. So we don't ever pull into an inversion position. We would pull eversion if there was an inversion sprain, and we pull equally if there was an eversion sprain. All right. So what I'm going to do now is the weave part of this comes from, so I'm going to figure out my stirrups. So again, stirrups and horseshoes. So what I do is I figure out where, because I want to make sure that these stirrups are starting and stopping on my anchor strips over here. So can you see how I've made that stirrup? Okay, and think about stirrup pants that women used to wear, which I think it's coming back in style. It just goes underneath the ankle like that. So what I'm actually going to do is I get an estimate of how long I need those stirrups to be, and then I'm going to tear off 3 of them and just have them right here on my table ready to go. And so, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to interlace these with the horseshoe. So you do 1 stirrup, 1 horseshoe, 1 stirrup, 1 horseshoe, 1 stirrup, 1 horseshoe. And that's what gives you that basket weave effect. All right. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is get our stirrups on here. So stirrups, about on the fat pad. So let's say that she had an eversion sprain. So I'm going to pull up on her lateral side. Can you feel me doing that? So she's doing a great job of keeping her foot in that position right there. Now the next thing that I need to do is now I need to put on a horseshoe. Okay? So horseshoes, they lay parallel. Okay? A couple things that you want to keep in mind with the horseshoes is that they are going to start inferior and they actually move superiorly. And these strips that are on the foot are the anchors for your horseshoes. So the stirrups anchors are up here on the calf, and then the horseshoe anchors are down here. So what I'm going to do is get my horseshoe anchored right there. I'm going to come around the back side. So do you see how I came around the back? Okay, so the horseshoe went on, or sorry, the stirrup went on, and then I've anchored each of them there, and I've gone around the side. Okay? Now what I'm going to do, excuse me, with my stirrups is, you can see I started kind of towards the back of her heel pad. Now I'm always overlapping by a half, and I'm going to move a little bit anteriorly. So again, I'm going to secure with my right hand, and I'm going to pull up again with my left hand, because I want to pull her into that eversion position. So I did 1 stirrup, 1 horseshoe, and now I've got my 2nd stirrup on. So what am I going to put on next? Horseshoe, overlapping by a half, moving superiorly. I'm going to go up from that original horseshoe that I put on. So overlap by a half, tuck that down on there, and then I'll come around. All right, this is when your heel and lace pads on a small foot start getting a little bit tricky. You got to start getting down there. All right, so I've done 2 combinations so far. 2 stirrups, 2 horseshoe. So now that third stirrup is going to go on again, overlap by a half. Which way am I pulling up laterally? I just told you, pulling up on the lateral side. If it was E version, what would I do in terms of pulling up on those stirrups? Equal. That's right. All right, so let's get this last horseshoe on here. Overlapping by a half. So what you'll notice is this last horseshoe that I'm putting on, because of where it is, I'm actually making it a little bit longer, just because of the way that and look at that, I've got a nice ugly wrinkle right in there. Okay, so a lot of you will be like, oh man, I got a wrinkle doing what I'm doing right now, trying to take it off, but when you get lots and lots of practice at this, you'll get less and less wrinkles, I promise. So just find somebody that will fall asleep while you're taping their ankle at night. All right, so now what we need to do is we need to close off